The wind howled across the Montana prairie, carrying the scent of rain and regret. Miles stood frozen, his boots sinking into the mud, as the cowboy's words cut deeper than the cold. "You don't belong here, city boy." But the fire in those dark eyes told a different story. One Miles would unravel over a summer that would change his life forever. Miles had arrived at the Blackthorn Ranch 2 weeks ago. A 24-year-old photographer from Chicago with a knack for capturing beauty in the rawest places. He'd come to document the fading art of cowboy life for a magazine spread. But the sprawling 10,000-acre ranch felt like a world apart from his urban roots. The owner, Ethan Caldwell, a 26-year-old rancher with a jawline sharp enough to cut glass and a demeanor colder than the Montana winter, had made it clear from day one, Miles was an outsider. "Don't get in my way," Ethan had growled, his voice low and rough, like gravel under boots. Miles, with his quick wit and easy smile, had only grinned back, undeterred. Something about Ethan's guarded stare intrigued him, like a locked gate begging to be opened. The first week was a clash of worlds. Miles trailed Ethan with his camera, snapping shots of him breaking horses, mending fences, or riding across the plains, his black Stetson tilted against the sun. Ethan barely spoke, his responses clipped, his eyes always scanning the horizon as if Miles were invisible. But Miles noticed the little things, the way Ethan's hands softened when he brushed a horse's flank, the faint scar above his eyebrow that caught the light, the way his lips twitched when Miles cracked a joke. There was a man beneath the cowboy's armor, and Miles wanted to know him. One evening, as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in hues of amber and violet, Miles found Ethan alone in the barn, brushing down a chestnut mare. The air was thick with the scent of hay and leather. "You ever stop working?" Miles asked, leaning against a post, camera dangling from his neck. Ethan didn't look up. "Work's what keeps this place alive." "You wouldn't understand." Miles stepped closer, undaunted. "Try me." Ethan's hand stilled on the brush, his eyes flicking to Miles for the first time that day. "You're here to take pictures, not to stay. Don't pretend you're part of this." The words stung, but Miles caught the flicker of something, fear, maybe, in Ethan's gaze before he turned away. Days bled into weeks, and the tension between them grew like a storm on the horizon. Miles kept pushing, asking questions, lingering too long, his camera capturing Ethan in moments of unguarded beauty, laughing with the ranch hands, staring pensively at the stars, or wiping sweat from his brow after a long day. Ethan noticed, too. "Stop pointing that thing at me," he'd snap, but Miles would just grin, knowing Ethan hadn't told him to leave. Not yet. One night, a thunderstorm rolled in, the kind that shook the earth and lit the sky with jagged bolts. Miles was in the guest cabin, sorting through photos, when he heard a knock. Ethan stood in the doorway, soaked to the bone, his white t-shirt clinging to his chest. "Fence broke in the north pasture," he said, voice tight. "Need an extra hand." Miles didn't hesitate. He grabbed a raincoat and followed Ethan into the downpour, the two of them wrestling with wire and posts as lightning cracked above. When their hands brushed, Miles felt a jolt that had nothing to do with the storm. Ethan froze, his eyes locking onto Miles's, rain streaming down his face. For a moment, the world was just them, two men, hearts pounding, caught in the rain's embrace. Back at the barn, shivering and drenched, Ethan handed Miles a towel. You didn't have to come, he muttered. Miles smirked, wiping his face. Yeah, I did. Ethan's gaze lingered. Softer now, and Miles felt the air shift. Why do you keep pushing? Ethan asked, almost a whisper. Miles stepped closer, heart racing. Because I see you, Ethan. And I think you see me, too. Ethan's breath hitched, and for a heartbeat, Miles thought he might close the distance. But Ethan turned away, muttering, You don't belong here, before disappearing into the night. The next morning, Ethan was colder than ever, barking orders and avoiding Miles's gaze. Hurt but stubborn, Miles doubled down, determined to crack Ethan's walls. He started helping with chores, feeding horses, hauling hay, even learning to ride under the amused eyes of the ranch hands. Ethan watched from a distance, his expression unreadable. One afternoon, Miles caught him staring as he struggled to saddle a horse. Need a hand? City boy, Ethan teased, the first hint of warmth in his voice. Miles grinned. Only if you say please. Ethan's laugh was low, unguarded, and it lit something in Miles's chest. By the fourth week, they were orbiting each other, drawn together by an unspoken pull. Late-night talks by the fire replaced Ethan's silence, his stories of the ranch's history mingling with Miles's tales of city life. One night, under a blanket of stars, Ethan admitted, I thought you'd be gone by now. Miles looked at him, the firelight dancing in Ethan's eyes. I'm not going anywhere. Ethan's hand brushed Miles's, lingering just long enough to send a shiver down his spine. But the ranch wasn't a fairy tale. Ethan's father, a hard man who'd run Blackthorn with an iron fist before passing it to Ethan, showed up unannounced. He took one look at Miles and sneered. What's this city kid doing here? He demanded. Ethan's jaw tightened, but he said nothing, his silence cutting Miles deeper than any words. That night, Ethan found Miles packing his camera gear, ready to leave. You're giving up? Ethan asked, voice raw. Miles turned, eyes blazing. You told me I don't belong. Maybe you're right. Ethan stepped closer, his hand grazing Miles's arm. I was wrong, he whispered, and before Miles could respond, Ethan kissed him, a desperate, hungry kiss that tasted of rain and redemption. The kiss changed everything. They stole moments in the barn, the prairie, the quiet of the guest cabin, their connection growing fierce and fragile. But Ethan's father wasn't blind. One evening, he cornered Miles, his voice dripping with venom. You think you can come here and ruin my son? Get out before I make you. Miles stood his ground, but doubt crept in. Was he tearing Ethan's world apart? The breaking point came during a cattle drive. A stampede erupted, chaos swallowing the plains. Miles, still green on horseback, was thrown, his body hitting the ground hard. Ethan was at his side in seconds, panic in his eyes as he checked for injuries. Don't you dare leave me, Ethan growled, his voice breaking. Miles managed a weak smile. Not planning on it. That night, by the campfire, Ethan held Miles's hand, uncaring of the other ranch hands' glances. I'm done hiding, he said, his voice steady. I want you here. With me. The final day of Miles's assignment arrived, and with it, a storm. As rain poured, Ethan found Miles in the barn, camera packed, ready to return to Chicago. Don't go, Ethan said, his voice raw. Miles shook his head. tears mixing with the rain on his face. "I can't stay if you're not all in." Ethan's eyes burned with something fierce, and before Miles could say another word, Ethan dropped to his knees in the mud, a simple silver ring glinting in his hand. "I love you, Miles," he said, voice steady despite the storm. "Marry me." "Stay." Miles's heart stopped, the world narrowing to the man before him. He sank to his knees, pulling Ethan into a kiss that sealed their future. They built a life on Blackthorn, side by side, defying the odds and the whispers of those who didn't understand. The ranch became more than a place. It was a home, a testament to love that refused to bend. Miles's photos of their life together, raw and radiant, told a story the world couldn't ignore. Two men, once strangers, who found belonging in each other's arms.